Okay, so we are now live streaming, and for everyone's that is going to be joining us, we are in a regular meeting of council that commenced at 6:30 with a closed session. We're now back in open session and ready to commence with the open portion of the agenda. So I turn it back to you, Mayor Eadie.
Okay, thank you. So the next motion on the table is that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held electronically on October 13th, 2020 be adopted as printed. Need a mover, please. Councilor Evans, second by Revimo. Okay, any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, all in favor? Carried. That the minutes of the Administration, Economic Development and Tourism Committee meeting held October 1st, 2020 be adopted as printed. Mover, please. Councilor Jemison, seconded by Revimo. I'll turn it over to Councilor Jemison for her report.
Okay, thank you. So this is our August 1st meeting. And so if you've read through it, I just want to highlight a few points. So 6.1, we welcomed our new employee, Jenna McEwen, who is the maternity leave replacement for Edie Charbonneau. And then 6.2 is store hours. So we talked about that at our last council meeting. And in our committee meeting, we asked that we gave direction to staff to do some research for us. So that'll come to our next meeting this week or next week, actually next week. And then if you go down a little bit further to 7.2, 7.1 and 7.2, so the wayfinding signage and the free Wi-Fi. We now have our free Wi-Fi in Low Square. The signage for the wayfinding signage has been ordered, but it's not going to be installed until we know when the Low Square is going to have its refurbishment. And then if you go down to 7.3, you'll see where Edie McEwen, she did a verbal update of the OVAD meetings that she has been attending for us. And then the other point I'd like to bring to your attention is 7.4. So this was the rep for BIA regarding the Santa Claus parade. So they are considering to probably not have the Christmas parade just because they don't want to encourage gatherings, large or small. And that's about it. Any questions? Anybody have any questions they need answered?
Councilor Hines.
Yeah, I just have a couple. This is a great report, lots of great ideas in there. And I really like what you're working on, and I assume that our economic development officer is working on those things. So first of all, in regard to new ideas and marketing and such, is there any work being done on the possibility of accommodations being looked at, like a little maybe upscale accommodations to accommodate some of these great ideas that people would be coming here? And I know in the past we were going to look at those kinds of things, but it hasn't really gone much farther than that. I mean, we have basically 2 hotels and some bed and breakfast.
Right. So we did have we were working on that like quite aggressively. And then when Rob Thompson bought the post office, so it kind of is in the standstill to see what's going on with which way he is proceeding, what he's doing. And considering that we only have now the 2 hotels and the bed and breakfasts, we're kind of like following what the OVTA is doing as well and seeing where they're going. And with COVID going on right now, it's really hard for us to do anything regarding all of this. You know, like it's kind of like on the back burner because everybody is trying to, anybody that is, you know, coming here, they're not coming here for functions or to attend festivals or weddings. So right now we just haven't had really a whole lot of discussion about it.
But to come up with some of these ideas and have perhaps a film crew come here, that's what I would be concerned about. And,
right,
you know, should we be having a second arena accommodating hockey teams whenever we get through COVID? I wouldn't want to I think we still need to be out there kicking the tires, but I appreciate where we're at in COVID on that. That's probably not the highest priority, but I still think it deserves some consideration. The second point I had, and just a question in regard to number, not sure what that is, number 3, I guess, the request for permission to hunt. Will that, it looks like there's going to be some kind of an agreement being set in place, and is that something that's coming to council?
Well, you know what, how about we get Clerk Bulmer to fill you in on this, because this actually came directly from him.
Okay.
Yeah, so unless, I'm not sure if council even realizes, but we do own property across Highway 17 that's not in the boundaries of the town of Renfrew. It's actually in Horton Township. And I guess I've learned that for many years that's been utilized for hunting purposes by many. We have had someone approach us to do it formally, and I think that's certainly a better way to do it. So we know who's there, they have insurance, etc. So I looked up a process used by other jurisdictions and have developed just a fairly simple agreement that provides for the provision of contact information, various terms and conditions, and obviously the important part is the carrying of liability insurance for the purposes of hunting. So again, it's in Horton Township, so it doesn't fall under our own no firearm bylaw. And again, it's property that has been hunted for, I guess, forever, and this will put some formalities around it, so it protects us a bit in our the risk management of that property, and has more or less a steward that's keeping an eye on things, and actually had a conversation with the gentleman today, and was just reporting on what he's seen, and keeping me up to date on the property itself. So it's good to have a set of eyes as well. And it's a property I didn't even know we owned until several years ago, and it's maybe something that we can look at and what its value is to us down the road, or for other purposes. And certainly we'll bring that to the table at some point.
Okay. Councillor Hines, and I think Reeve Emo, did you have your hand up? Okay, Councillor Hines and Reeve Emo.
Okay, I still didn't get my question answered. Because we're entering into an agreement, like any other agreement, is that something that's going to come before council, that we authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement, or is it just that's what we're doing?
Yeah, I determined it was pretty low level operational, so it's just being handled at a staff level unless direction is given otherwise.
Okay. Reeve Emo.
Thank you. Just to Councillor Hines, there was a significant national brand hotel chain that was through the area in November and December and into February of this year. They had reached out to me via an email, and I had sent them some information, and they were in the process of wanting me to engage them with staff when COVID hit. So there is some interest. They were very interested in some of the information that had gone into our development charges bylaw. It talked about projections. I also gave them a copy of our community profile that talks about our demographics, our income, education levels, Also suggested to them, there were 2 other businesses who had completed studies recently that talked about customer bases and the fact that, we think that we service around 30,000 people if you take a look at the circle coming in for a variety of services. So they were quite interested in that and wanted to make sure they could nail those numbers down. So I haven't reached out to them probably since June, but they were on hold because they were, like we all are, living in our guest bedroom on Zoom, and we're sort of waiting to see what the long-term effects on the traveling public that market was going to be over the next 3 to 5 years. So as soon as they express an interest again, I've committed to hooking them into the economic development department and to the clerk, as I always do when I get a request. I had a request this weekend from somebody else about something else, and I hooked them in as well. So that happens on I wouldn't say regular basis, but periodically. For some reason, my name gets attached to stuff, and so I was approached directly.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Clerk Bowmer.
Yeah, and just to add, and for many members of council will recall that we commenced a feasibility study back in 2017, which was a rather large undertaking. And that study's been left in draft format because at the time, the triggers just weren't there enough to get to that, I guess, that rating which hoteliers look for to come and develop. And some of those triggers may be hit once Highway 7 or the forward laning of Highway 17 does come to reality, or something like the establishment of a second ice pad, perhaps. So, that report will be brought forth again. And if those triggers are hit and the rating increases enough, it'll be finalized. And that's going to be a valuable reporting for anybody that's looking into hotel development to utilize. But so certainly it was looked at in very great detail, and the town did what action it could take.
Okay.
2017, and that's where it's at. But nothing has materially changed as of yet. But as we know, things are changing slowly, and we just need a few triggers like the highway getting at least commenced, or even the announcements of it. We're seeing the effects of that. So.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that. Your worship.
Yes.
Just back to that agreement, and I don't know if I'm being paranoid or not, but just having an agreement that, and I have the utmost respect for staff and their decisions on that, and that they have the best interests of the town. It's just that if something happens there, I don't want to be on the other end of it where yeah, sure, we had an agreement, but I haven't a clue what's in it. And I did ask the question. Anyway, that's where I'm at on that.
Okay. Well, maybe what we need is direction or a motion to give direction to Clerk Bowmer to proceed with the agreement. I'm not sure if it's already, I don't think it's signed, sealed, and delivered yet, Clerk Bowmer, is it?
Sorry about that. I'm just waiting on one final piece of information that I'm probably going to get, if not tomorrow, certainly this week from the individual. But again, as I mentioned, hunting has taken place there for years and years, and hunting continues to take place there. So this would formalize at least an arrangement with one person that at least that person's done the right thing by coming to the town and asking permission. So, and I can certainly put this in a format to bring to council formally if that's their wish. And again, the main component of it, and really the only component that really is important, is the provision of proof of liability insurance for hunting purposes. So. And of course, the contact of the individual.
Okay. So Councillor Hines, is that satisfactory?
Yes, I just think it's important, and I don't, I mean, I totally respect the committee's review of it, and certainly the clerk's work on it. Again, I think the utmost care and, you know, the best for the town is behind all of that. But saying that it's been done for many years, people are keeping chickens in town for many years, and we haven't done anything about that, but we may. So it's the same kind of thing. All the things that get done that we just don't have anything formal about, then I really think that that we need to just be in the know about that. And I'm sorry to be so direct and paranoid about it.
Just for clarification, it is formalized. It's just, it's done at a staff level, not a council level. So I can certainly bring it to council level through bylaw if that's council's wish, and have council authorize it as well. It was just authorized at a staff level. That's the only change. It is formalized, and we have formal, you know, formalized the paperwork around it. So I can certainly bring a bylaw with that to next council, and council can either, you know, certainly endorse it, or maybe the choice is to not allow, and we'll post. But I think it needs to be posted if not, so.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. I don't really have a problem if you could bring it forward, but I just, if something happened, I want to at least know that I saw something.
Okay. Revimo.
Yes, thank you. Just item 5.2 in the minutes, I think at the last council meeting, there seemed to be some questions, and I think an inference, a more sensitive person than myself might have been offended by it, but it was suggested that committee didn't seem to care or debate this. So I draw your attention to the next to last paragraph. Council also commented that the store hours bylaw should be revisited, as they do not feel a municipality should dictate when a store can be open, and also that we should not get involved in employee shift concerns. So I just wanted to reassure council and I think the viewers that, you know, that inference, whether intended or not, to a more sensitive person would have been upsetting, but to myself, I was just waiting for the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay, that the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting held September 21st, 2020 be adopted as printed. Mover, please. Revimo, seconded by Councillor Hines. Okay. We had two things on there. There was a request for the waiver of development charges, which will be coming back to the next meeting. Procurement policy, final review and discussion will hopefully come to the next meeting, etc. It's a fairly big one, so it's hard to build time in for that. Provincial funding for COVID, we've already received 242,400, and I think there's another process to that where we can fill out another application if it warrants. The budget schedule is there. I believe everybody has already submitted their everything for what do you call it?
Capital, your worship.
Process. It's in process.
Salaries.
We've made a discussion on A-frames. Whatever, I believe I think there's a motion tonight and on this, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, there is. That'll be talked about a little later. The financials for the Innovation Center and the letter from the Renfrew Hydro will be discussed again, whatever, at the next meeting, which is next week. And it's a capital budget, I believe, that had to be in by the end of September, and I believe it's all been done, and we're looking at now what salaries for the end of October. So the budget process has started. Any questions? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. The Renfrew Town Council approved the purchase of 10 A-frame signs for distribution to downtown businesses on a pilot project basis with a limit of 1 sign per business, with the potential for the purchase of additional signs in 1 year. I've heard that the cost of signs be financed from the Community Improvement Plan CIP budget. Mover, please. Councillor Hines, second by Councillor Cooless. Any questions or comments on this? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay. That the minutes of the Human Resources Committee meeting held October 22nd, 2020 be received. Mover, please. Revimo, second by Councillor Sidney. Turn it over to Revimo for his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our meeting was held electronically on Thursday, October 22nd, and I'd like to thank staff and the committee for being flexible enough to meet at 6 o'clock that evening. We had some difficulty with the meetings or getting a meeting organized, and thank you for your flexibility. I'll move you right down to item number 7. The 7A, the remuneration, the annual remuneration survey was completed. Was passed. Committee had a look at it. If you wish, we can arrange to have it forwarded to you. There's not much change. We're number 7 or 8 pretty consistently out of the 17 municipalities surveyed in terms of salary for mayor, council, and myself. 7B. We had a request about staff training and development, and so we're going to have a policy drafted to ensure consistent application throughout the organization. So if I as an employee approach my manager and want to take a course, we want to have some clear guidelines all the way across the organization. There is some flexibility right now and fluidity in policy between departments, and we're worried that's going to engender some kind of resentment or competition to see who can get the best. So we're trying to get some clarity on it, what our expectations are around it, and what kind of designations it applies to. And we moved into closed session, and then we come out to discuss carryover unused vacation and float hours. And we'll be meeting again this week to get more information on it, to come forward with some recommendations. And at that point, we were adjourned. We'd spent about an hour going through our 2 agenda items.
Okay, any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay. That the minutes from the Fire and Emergency Management Committee meeting held October 20th, 2020 be received. Mover, please. Councillor Hines, second by Councillor Cooless. Turn over to Councillor Hines for a report. You're on, okay.
Yep, okay. This is our meeting of October the 20th, last week at 2:30 in the afternoon. And we did receive the minutes from the September 15th meeting, which have already, council has already seen at the council meeting of September 22nd. Under new and unfinished business, the Fire Chief Welsh reviewed the action report for September for the department and gave us detail on it. It is attached for your perusal, and if you should have any questions on it, that would be fine. But it's pretty straightforward, and we've gone over this enough that you certainly are attuned to what each of those things are. But if you have a question, feel free to ask it. But I do want to draw your attention to the bottom of the page, the recreational open air burning permits. 4 actually were issued in September, that we just have a matter of maybe weeks or months, maybe not months, weeks before the snow flies, but perhaps people are going to be doing little outdoor fires in the winter. But anyway, people did purchase 4 in September. And as of year to date, we have 44 permits issued, which is great that the fire department have gone out there and inspected it and did a little educational session with the folks that are having these. And I think people can feel quite safe for the people that have permits. And if you don't have a permit, then you may be having a visit from the bylaw enforcement officer or the chief. So it's important that if you are intending on having an outdoor fire, that you need to have one of those permits. So just a little correction for the priorities for 2021. It just got missed, and the three of us all review the agenda or the minutes, but unfortunately we missed this one, that the topic of priorities for 2021, that's an ongoing carryover on our agenda, and it will be seen again on the November meeting. Anyway, Chief Welsh did provide a verbal report about planning and training and where that might be. And it's very much dependent on COVID, although he is doing some work with the volunteers. They are doing some training exercises, and there are some online training that are being done, but eventually there has to be that hands-on. So we just have to see where COVID leaves us for 2021. Also, the chief and the department, the fellows, continue to work towards the 100th anniversary, that we're hoping to have some celebrations and recognize that next year. And once again, that's very dependent on COVID. The chief did give us a great update on the vehicle purchase, and he did have a meeting with Gary Fire Truck, Fort Garry Fire Truck, and went over the contract and the proposal in great detail. And he was able to find some savings, but I'm going to ask him to speak to that, perhaps because we've had a little bit of an update to that. And but it is good news that the fire chief is so on top of it to be reviewing all of that and making sure that we are getting what we need as a new fire truck. So we did have a communication from the fire marshal's office dated October the 6th. And it was in regard to a recent labor relations arbitration decision. And actually, Reed Emo had shared that article from the Sudbury paper with us back in, I think it was September the 9th. He had sent that by email to us for us to read. So it certainly points that we are in the right position when it comes to the opinion of the fire marshal's office, the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office, when it comes to the safety of the not only the firefighters but the safety of the town. So when we did negotiate the contract, the previous council, I shouldn't be taking credit for that, but when the previous council did negotiate the contract, you put us in a good position in regard to having a lengthy contract and just how the contract was written. So, and we did, as we promised, we were going to review the fire permit fee. We had some inquiries about that, and the fire chief and the three of us had a very intense discussion on it. And in the comparison that the chief provided for us, we seem to be in the right place on that. So we are just leaving it as it is right now. And we're pretty pleased with the number of people that have come forward and cared enough to get that permit and be educated by the chief or in regard to burning and the rules that go along with that. So we did have a look at the financial summary year to date, and it's pretty on track. Other than, of course, we saw variances where the training.
Okay, I think Councillor Hines, you've become frozen on us. Maybe while she's frozen, Fire Chief Welch, you could go ahead with your reports.
Thank you, Your Worship, and apologies to our committee chair. Oh, she's back. I don't know
Yeah,
whether,
Sorry, Councillor Hines, you were frozen there, so I asked Fire Chief Welch to go ahead with his reports. Oh, you're frozen again, so go ahead, Chief Welch.
all right then. Thank you, Your Worship. Just as Councillor Hines alluded to, part and parcel of the process for purchasing a new vehicle, beyond submitting out a request for proposals and receiving them and reviewing them, is once we've established that the tender, the successful bidder on the tender, is that we go back through and confirm that what we anticipate that we asked for and what they suggested that they're going to provide are exactly the same thing. So we did a pre-construction meeting on the 17th of September. We again confirmed that through a line-by-line process to ensure that what they offered in comparison to what we asked for was the identical item. And we did find some deviations between what we had asked for, what they had proposed, what their thoughts were. Those have been corrected. And as Councillor Hines did allude to, the price that we're paying for the finished product now is not the same as what we had agreed to through a motion of council. We had accepted the fact that we would pay $663,820 for that new truck. And I've subsequently today even had another conversation with them. Our price for that new truck will now be $660,000, $270. So we have managed to wring another $3,550 off that price between eliminating duplications, ensuring that what we asked for is what they're providing, and we will be getting the vehicle that we had hoped to get through that RFP at the price that's now lower than what they had originally suggested it was going to cost to build that for us.
Okay. Councillor Hines, you're unfrozen again, so do you have any more to say on this?
no, I don't. It's just I miss a bit of the conversation, but I actually can hear you guys, but you're just all like, oh. So thank you.
Chief Welch filled in there for you very well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any questions or comments on the minutes? Vivimo.
Nothing on the minutes, Your Worship, but I'd like to thank Councillor Hines for noting the work of yourself and Councillor Koulis and Treasurer O'Reilly with that long-term agreement, and then also, of course, the cooperation and the work of the Fire Association as well. We thought at the time it was trend-setting, but also a very good strategic agreement for both parties and for the community going forwards. And I think, your words have shown that tonight. So thank you for noting that. And I know Councillor Koulis and his worship, they worked very hard on it. And I think, when you do committee work, you like to hear that you've done something well on occasion. So thank you for that.
Okay, welcome.
That is a good contract. When you go like a 10-year, that solves a lot of problems down the road. And anyway, it's any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay. That the minutes from the Development and Works Committee meeting held October 13th, 2020 be received. Mover, please. Councillor Koulis, seconded by Councillor Jamison. Turn over to Councillor Koulis for his report.
Okay, once again, a meeting that was very productive, over 2 hours in length, of course. So to begin, there was a communication from the Renfrew County Bus Lines requesting some no parking signs installed on Muriel Street. That's that short street that runs off of Raglan South and circles around to join First in front of the St. Joseph's High School. There is some congestion concerns there when buses are trying to pick up and deliver children to the elementary school and also to the high school, in that the street at that very section from Raglan to Muriel is very short and very narrow, and parents are parking on both sides of the street waiting on children, and they're just creating so much congestion that school buses, it's just a nightmare and an accident waiting to happen. So That has been recommended to go forward to council to have the development works install some signage there to eliminate parking on that part of the street. Building report came in. Mr. Webster, our building official, was not available, but Director Aslan did fill in for him and relayed the news that we are experiencing steady activity in the building of Renfrew. Despite the low number of new builds, the developers are still receiving lots of pressure for new development. So I think it's based on the kind of year we're having with this pandemic, we're actually doing pretty well there. Stewart Street construction is ongoing, as you know, at the foot of the street at the south end at the bridge. They are working diligently on a sewer connection underneath the road. This is a procedure they have developed with Marathon drilling to bore underneath Stewart Street, and that will eliminate the need to close that street off. So if you are asked by anyone why or what's going on, that's the answer. They're running sanitary lines, and once they're finished with that, then the project will clear up for the winter, where they'll close it up and construction will begin in the spring on the rest of the road. Aaron Pryor Ross is finished. Airth Boulevard, of course, is awarded, and they're working on water lines and sanitary lines just until the weather gets to the point where we can't do anymore, and then that will be closed up for the dirty weather and resume in the spring. Water Tower award was granted. They are requesting the company is requesting a deferral until spring because of the coating on the tank, and the cold weather is not conducive, to say the least. Downtown Highway 60, we still have that on our agenda each time we meet. The latest news is that the contractor that looked after the cement on the sidewalks has launched legal action against the general contractor, Boncher Excavating. And it's unknown at this time what their response was, but we're just sitting in the wings because we were the customer. The Connecting Link funding that we discussed at our last council meeting was also again discussed at this Development and Works meeting. All the details are there in the report for you to peruse. Basically, we are doing some geotechnical on the shoulders of the road to find out how much base we have and so on. It gets fairly technical there, but we're still hoping to get that application in by November 6th, which is next Friday, I believe. And we will. And hopefully we get that grant to do that next year. There's an update on the easement at 29 Arthur. That's the parcel of property down at the Boncher River by where the rapids are. Not many are aware of that little piece of property, but it's behind the residence at 29 Arthur, and we have a and I should know this in real estate, but we have a deeded access, I believe it is the way it's worded, for access along that part of the property to service our lines and so on. And we are going to discuss acquisition of some more property there. So, and with consultations through the Parks and Recreation Department to see whether that makes any sense as a trail down through there. The drinking water review was done. 2019 review was done. We are, just so you know, the ministry has provided an inspection rating of 100%. There's not much more you can do than 100, unless you're using a different mathematical scale. The swinging bridge, we've had some concerns there. There's some problems with the pier caps, and there's also been some damage caused by the woodpeckers and so on. That work is ongoing as we speak, and will be done this fall by an outside contractor. Mocher Bridge, we also are going to need to spend some money on it over the next few years, in that the deck is going to require some maintenance and some upgrading, and also it was indicated that within the next 10 years the town will need to address the structure itself. The cost is estimated to be roughly $700,000. This would fall under an MTO Connecting Link program for funding, because it is part of Highway 60. I don't think there's anything more that I can. Oh yes, we did look at some of our highlights for 21 and our capital budget discussions. You see them listed there. There's about 7 items that we determined to be sort of crucial. Quickly, Madaways Road water main, Joffrey, Hague, and Dufferin Street repaving, Monroe, Harry water and sewer, storm sewer upgrade and repaving, a transportation master plan, a new 820 meters of paved interconnected road to Mattaway from Opiongo, upgrade of the sanitary trunk main located in behind the OPP station on county property there, and the Newtown garage, of course, is on the horizon. We are currently doing some borehole testing through Gemtech throughout Renfrew, so that the residents know we are doing this to determine what we are working with for a sub base underneath residential streets. We need to do that before we commit to funding many of our residential streets that are in very bad shape, and we acknowledge that. We are looking at it constantly. But before we tear asphalt off and find out that we're dealing with mud and we need to go down 6 feet to put a good base on it, this testing will tell us what's there below the pavement, and then we can use an educated guess as to what it will cost us to do each residential street that we have on our list, and we have many of them, believe me. We did have a groundbreaking ceremony a week ago last Friday, on the 16th of October, for the Le Pin Apartments on Barnett Boulevard. Went very well. It was the council was present, as well as the Le Pin family and their representatives, of course, too. And that was it.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Hines.
Just a few comments, and just starting on page 1, I want to extend to Carolyn at the Development Works and the staff there, and also the members of the Development and Works Committee. You have received lots of kudos from the Renfrew County bus drivers, who feel very comfortable in calling the department and telling you that, you know, this is an issue, and you relate to it, whether it's a branch on the street of a tree hanging down too low or whatever. They cited as what great cooperation. So I really wanted to extend that to you from them. And I just want to say that under new and unfinished business, I really like this format that you've chose to just give us a little snippet of where things are at. A lot of things happening in regard to construction, And it's great to just hear where all those projects are at, whether it's a one-liner and what's working on now. I think that's really, really great. And just the other comment I have is when it comes to the bridge on Stewart Street and the resurfacing of it, and the major cost that it looks like it will be, and that it has to be done within the next 10 years. I'm just hoping that you are going to include that in your 10-year capital forecast and what might be coming forward. And the last comment I have is in regard to the research in regard to the streets and whether they're going to be best served with a shave and pave, or whether the best spent money will be to do a full reconstruction of the infrastructure underneath. I just want to say, back in the early 2000s, the end of 1990s, we did create a list of streets on that very premise. So people were able to come in and look at where their street got to on that. And I know when things come up and they are an emergency, whether it's the bridge or whatever it is, that then at least they know where that street is at. So I do applaud you for doing that. And I think it's important, and I think people will just be happy knowing that you care enough about it to look at it. So that is all of my comments.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Guillermo.
Yes, item 8.2, I see the unicorn is back. The recent traffic study, it's been threaded through at least 4 sets of minutes. Are we ever going to get to see that? Just out of curiosity. Because we had, and is that the same one we talked about 2 weeks ago, or is that the previous one that was in the minutes and now we have Unicorn 1 and Unicorn 2?
I think that's Unicorn 1, I think.
Okay.
That's just revisited.
Okay.
We had space on the page.
Okay. Thanks.
Anything else?
I can tell you that my uncle or nobody else worked on that study, so I don't have a conflict, and at some point I wouldn't mind having a look at
I think it was your grandfather.
it. Yeah, thanks.
Any further comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carry. Okay. That the DWQMS Top Management Review for 2019 be received. Over, please. Councillor Sidney, seconded by Councillor Evans. Maybe call on Director Asplund to give the report.
Hey, thank you, Mayor Eady. And essentially, there's a lot of paper here in front of you tonight. It's all related to standard of care, and there is an obligation that all of council be aware of what is happening with the water system and what the status is. And so this report went to Development Works Committee and now is being advanced to council. And the document in front of you includes a lot of information, and I won't review it all at this time. I'll just provide some context. The Ministry of Environment has gone through a drinking water licensing program, Drinking Water Works permit, and part of that was to have a drinking water quality management system. So that's the DWQMS. So there's 21 elements that the municipality is required to comply with and adhere in their quality management system. So we do have an operation plan, and the 21 elements are audited internally. They're audited externally every year. And also there's an obligation for myself to do a top management review every year and bring that to council. So this report here is the top management review with all the appending documents. And we've had our external audit report is buried in that report. And it's a 12-page report, and I can tell you that we've scored very well on the audit report. So there's really no concerns. There's one opportunity for improvement there out of the 21 elements, and that is many fewer than the previous round. So we've done well. I think it was highlighted in our Development Works Committee notes that the Ministry of Environment inspection was done and the inspection rating was 100%, which is good, but we can't let our guard down because all it takes is one incident to throw that number down. And essentially, you know, the Ontario Clean Water Agency are on top. There's a lot of communication between Aqua and the town staff related to items on a daily basis, and to keep things going on track the way they are. So at this point, I'll just leave it at that. And if council have any question related to any of these documents that we've presented, but I would, for the purposes of keeping council up to date, would take time to just review them, scan them, and if you have any questions, you can contact myself to answer any questions. Again, the council does have an obligation to be on top of everything related to their water system and understand if there's any issues whatsoever. And I'm happy to report at this time, since 2018 in June, when we had the Smiths Creek water system failure, I think things have been going along fairly well. But again, we can't let our guard down.
Any comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay. That Director Aston's report dated October 21st, 2020 concerning amendments to the parking bylaw be received. Over, please. Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Jemison. Maybe I'll ask Director Aston to give us a little short report on this, please.
Sure. And on your screen, we did speak, Councillor Koulos did speak to this issue regarding the narrowing of Muriel Avenue in front. We're viewing this from Raglan Street South towards First, where the buses travel on high school. So you can see that the road is quite narrow. It's quite narrow, and then it widens out at the intersection here. So the municipal property ends just prior to the widening. So then it becomes public property. So at this point, there is a bylaw being proposed to restrict parking on both sides of the road. It's a road that's less than 8 meters wide, which is most subdivision roads with parking on one side are 8.5 meters minimum. So we're proposing to restrict parking on both sides. So this bylaw and this report is suggesting a change to that bylaw. And you can see the Schedule B. The first item on it is the addition of Muriel Street from Raglan Street South to First, restricted parking on both sides at any time.
Okay, any questions? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay. The bylaw 74/2020 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 29/2012 being a bylaw to regulate and control parking of vehicles in the town of Renfrew read a first time, deemed to have been read a second time. Over, please. Councillor Hines, seconded by Councillor Koulos. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. The bylaw 74/2020 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 29/2012 being a bylaw to regulate and control parking of vehicles in the town of Renfrew be read a third time and be passed. Over, please. Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Sidney. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. The Environmental Engineering Officer Armstrong's report dated October the 22nd, 2020, concerning the 2020 grinding program at the Renfrew landfill site be received. Over, please. Revimo, second by Councillor Sidney. Director Aston, do you want to give a report on this, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Eady, to council. On an annual basis, materials are diverted from the landfill, construction, demolition, wood waste, shingles, stockpile materials. This year also added mattresses into the grinding program due to the difficulty in directly landfilling those items. So those items are piled up, and at the end of the year, about this time of the year, we always release a tender for the grinding of the material. Once the material is ground, it's used as daily cover, and that allows us to not use the sand from the pit to cover up the materials. So in this case, on September 29th, the tender was released and closed October 24th. And we had bids from Northern Bulk Logistics, Nadcor Environmental Shredding, National Grinding, and Glenview Iron and Metal. And 3 of the bids were compliant, and Northern Bulk Logistics was low bid, and they're right now they're working at the Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery Center doing grinding. So Tyler did check references, and it was sufficient to award the work of the grinding at the landfill to this firm. So with council's authorization and passing of the bylaw, then that will award the work, and they'll come out and grind it prior to Christmas time.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay. The bylaw 75/2020 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor clerk to execute an agreement with 1499545 Ontario Incorporated, OA Northern Bulk Logistics, for the regrinding of construction, demolition, wood shingles, mattresses, and other waste at the Renfrew landfill site. Be read the first time and deemed to have been read a second time. Over, please. Councillor Hines, second by Councillor Jamison. Okay, any questions or comments? Revimo.
Yeah, just this is, our first step to try and add more into the grinding stream to reduce things going into our landfill. So I think we've had some other conversations about other products that might be added into it, and we'll continue to work with potential suppliers, but also with staff to see if there's other products that can be used, can be ground in and then used as top cover to not go into landfill, but instead be more useful.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay, the bylaw 75/2020 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with 1499545 Ontario Incorporated, OA Northern Bulk Logistics, for the grinding of construction, demolition, wood shingles, mattresses, and other waste at the Renfrew landfill site. Be read a third time and be passed. Mover, please. Councillor Evans, second by Revimo. Again, any further questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor? Okay, bear with me here. Whereas connecting links are municipal roads that connect to provincial highways and border crossings. Whereas there are 352 kilometers of connecting links, including 70 bridges in 77 Ontario municipalities, counting the town of Renfrew, 6.8 kilometers of roadway comprised of Highway 132 and 60. Whereas the town of Renfrew is working aggressively to advance a connecting link rehabilitation program for Highway 132 and 60, which requires financial assistance from the province. Whereas the government of Ontario has introduced a 2021-22 connecting link program intake to assist municipalities in funding costs associated with bridge replacements, pavement rehabilitation, storm sewer construction, and intersection improvements. And whereas a connecting link application opened on August the 4th, 2020 which will fund up to 90% of eligible projected costs to a maximum of $3 million for road projects and $5 million for bridge projects. Whereas the town of Renfrew is desirous to submit an application for the reconstruction of the O'Brien Road easterly from Gillen Road. Now thereafter be it resolved that the council of the town of Renfrew hereby make the following declaration: that the submitted application prepared for Highway 60 O'Brien Road is the highest connecting link priority for the town of Renfrew. The council supports the application and commits to funding its share of the project submitted. And further that the submitted application meets the requirements of the Minister of Transportation Connecting Link program as described in the program guide. And further that a comprehensive asset management plan, including Connecting Link, has been completed and publicly posted. And further that the municipality will comply with conditions that apply to designated connecting links under the Highway Traffic Act to ensure the safe and efficient movement of provincial traffic. Further that the project be put forward in the application will be completed and the milestones met as stated in the application. And further that the application is complete and factually accurate. Mover, please. Councillor Evans, seconded by Reeve Emo. Okay, any questions or comments on this? Reeve Emo.
Just a comment, I think, the staff and committee should be commended for moving forward. This has been a multi-year approach by this council and last council and even the previous one when you look at the Lisgar application. And I know it plays very well with MTO that, we're always upgrading the links and the entrances through town and making it easier for people to enter and to leave, but also to travel through. And so that's, good that we're doing that. I know when Minister Del Duca was here, he was very impressed with that approach when he was given the information. And I would suspect that, we should have some success with these applications. My impression, I thought we were making two separate applications, but it looks like we're asking for the whole enchilada. So I'm a little curious about that and how that changed, if someone could help me with that.
Director Asplund, you have an answer there, please?
Yes, and I was going to raise to council that the description should read more accurately when it says O'Brien Road construction easterly from Gillen Road. That is correct, and it should say to Mask Road.
Okay.
So I would ask the clerk just to add those words. But yes, we're proposing to go from the Gillen intersection and go to Mask. If we look at the costs, our preliminary cost estimates are just under $3 million for that stretch from Gillen to Mask. But we also are proposing to propose the upgrades to the park and ride. The ministry do look very favorably upon park and rides in communities, and so we've added that. And I'll just do a little bit of screen share here for that document if I can find it. Let's see here. Okay, so at the intersection of Mask Road, that's just to the right of your screen, and we have the tourist booth in the corner, and we see a parking lot just to the south of the entrance to the tourist booth, and we're proposing to significantly upgrade our park and ride in that area, and that, along with the improvements that we're making in the roadway, which is essentially starting at Gillen Road and widening out such that there's going to be a left-hand bi-directional turning lane in the center. At the No Frills, we're proposing to remove that median to provide better access in and out of that location. With the center turning lane, it would accommodate that. And also proposing curbs and urbanizing the section so that it will eliminate the large ditches on each side of, especially along the south side where there's a big ditch there. So, and a sidewalk will be added on the south side of that road. There's really no pedestrian facilities on the south side of that section of road. The traffic, there is over 12,000 vehicles a day using that, and that's expected to increase. And so we figure the road is fairly wide as it is, and it has very wide shoulders. So as Councillor Koulis indicated, we are doing geotechnical in the areas of these shoulders. That's the dark areas, to determine if we have to replace the granulars before we widen out the shoulders and pave a little wider in those areas. So it's a good project. I think with the park and ride, it sort of falls within the funding arrangement where we can maximize the $3 million in grant and keep our component down to the bare minimum. But you know, to spend any money on connecting links means that we have to dig into our pockets a bit. I think the park and ride is a good addition to our application as well. And like Revimo had indicated, we are on a connecting link rehabilitation program, and we've been making steady progress year by year. I think the province has just repaved the section from Wrangler Road out to the highway. So we have one more thing in our application, is that, you know, we should be trying to maintain a consistent road standard from the work they're doing to the work we're doing. And so I think all of that helps support our application, and it will allow us to entertain different projects along that corridor as well.
Okay, any questions? Okay, hearing none, I'd just like to say to Director Asplund, thank you very much for putting this application together. I know it's a ton of work doing these, but past history will tell us that we've been reasonably successful with Connecting Link, and the government's put a lot of money into this for us. So thank goodness, without them, we wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you again for all your work you put into that. Okay, all in favor? Carry. Okay. That the minutes from the Renfrew Public Library Board meeting held September 22nd, 2020 be received. Mover, please. Councillor Sidney, second by Councillor Evans. I think I'll turn it over to Councillor Sidney for a report.
Thank you. So this goes back into September. I'm just going to highlight a few things that obviously some of it is a little bit older. We are basically, we were still dealing with the COVID situation, trying to look at how to continue to operate services, do some reopenings. Also the activity port. Things are always seem to be busy at the library, even with the COVID situation. Just want to highlight one of the things is the back at that meeting we did discuss, the CEO brought some information towards the board about talking to neighboring municipalities in regards to library services, which we did have another meeting a few days later to go over that. Looked at the budget, continued to review the COVID PPE protocols. Ours are slowly getting better as of now, but back then they weren't. We have waived the fines for people because it's just too complicated with items coming back and have to be quarantined and all of that stuff. So that's that. We are, our grant is still good for 2 years for the hotspots for the Wi-Fi, but we are going to be including that into the budgeting for future, just so they are so popular that we want to keep them. We do have an agreement, I believe it is, if it's not done yet, it is about to be done with Horton. And then you'll see further on that we have engaged conversation with another municipality to look at shared services. So if anybody has any questions, it was pretty straightforward, more of a maintenance meeting than anything.
Any questions or comments? Revimo.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to the committee. Your September 22nd meeting, it talks about medical grade keyboards. I think that's a great thing. And I was quite surprised to see that and glad, that the board and staff have been so forward thinking. So congratulations and to all of you for that. That's quite a step forward, especially given what's going on, around us right now. And then if I might, the shared services discussion, good for you. That's something that should have happened probably 10 or 15 years ago. I know I made several futile attempts, so I'm glad to see that somebody with energy and a vision is trying to put something together. Really hope it works. Makes a lot of sense. And it might be the first example to all the potential municipal partners of what could happen in the future if everybody frees up their mind and doesn't get too much in love with any consultant studies that might come out of the future. So I hope it works.
Thank you. Just to add to the keyboard factor, that with COVID and being able to shut down not because we wanted to, but it did give the library an opportunity to really reevaluate the flow and what was important, and they've really they jumped on board to do a lot of changes in there. So it's working very, very well.
Okay, anything else? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, that's the minutes of the special Renfrew Public Library Board meeting held September 28th, 2020 be received. Mover, please. Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Sidney. Councillor Evans, do you want to give this report? You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yes, shortly after the meeting on the 22nd, we had another impromptu meeting on the 28th, covering subject matter of the a possibility of another merger of services with that municipality that Tom referred to shortly earlier. That was the subject of the meeting.
Okay, any questions? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, that the library activity report for September, October 2020 be received. Over, please. Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Sidney. Okay. All pretty self-explanatory, other than either yourself, Councillor Sidney or Councillor Evans. Do you want to make any comments?
I don't have any. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them, as I'm sure Councillor Evans is the same. But it continues to be busy, and they continue to work through everything and work with the departments and everything. So if anybody has any questions.
Okay. Revimo.
No questions, just a comment. Very nicely laid out, and it's colorful and it catches the eye. So, in terms of getting information out quickly and accurately, it's a nice document. So again, kudos to the board and staff on it. I really like that look.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Is there any new or unfinished business? Okay, Councillor Sidney, then Councillor Revimo.
I just wanted to let council know that and I mentioned it before, but we're really pushing it right now, that the Renfrew Area Chamber of Commerce is going ahead with their community awards. Deadline for submission is November 6th. The awards are taking place on December 3rd. Depending on how our numbers go with COVID, we are planning on doing a small, more of a private ceremony for the recipients at Mattaway Park on December 3rd. It will be broadcast live and over the internet. But I would really strongly recommend councillors to nominate somebody. The nominations aren't coming in as best as we would like. We have added 3 new awards this year. One is an artisan award. The other one is a award for an employer that works with the vulnerable sector and does a very good job at that. And we have done a community hero award this year, specifically sort of COVID based. So nominating an employee, employer, person who's gone above and beyond during COVID. And that's above the Citizen of the Year as well. So really hoping people will nominate. It's on the Chamber's website. The information is all there. The nomination form is super simple. But we're really hoping to get people nominated and businesses nominated, especially this year with everything that's gone on. We've kind of rolled in. They're technically the awards for 2019 that are supposed to take place in May. We've had to reschedule it twice, but we've kind of rolled in 2019 and 2020 because of COVID all into one, and we're really looking forward to it. But we definitely need people to be nominated.
Okay, thank you. Revimo.
Yes, Your Worship, just to report to you and to council, I did attend with Councillor Koulis, Councillor Sidney, Councillor Hines, and Councillor Jameson, the opening of Lapine, and you know, we're very fortunate. They were quite enthusiastic about their event, and I did share your words of wisdom, Your Worship, and thanked our staff with the lead of Director Esland and Planner Withers, and then also made mention of the speed at which it has undergone to get from open field to holes in the ground. I should note that Mr. Lapine was very complimentary of staff and the community, and they're quite excited to be here. As well, he was very cognizant and quite strident in his remarks about there needs to be positive news in the community and in the media. And he feels that this is a very positive story and wanted to make sure it was emphasized. So I think he got his message out. And there were some other members of the community present. So I did share the words that you had advanced to me. And thank you for that. I was getting a bit rusty. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much. I apologize for not being able to be there, but I have been in correspondence with them, more like on the phone and a number of different times over the past while, and very exciting to have them, and nice to see that, really nice to see. And the comment they made to me was, this is the fastest application that they've ever processed, and thanking our town employees for really pushing this ahead and getting the job done. So it's nice to know that our employees are really cooperating with developers. And it's the same thing, I can say the same thing about council. This has been a complete council cooperation effort, and as much as takes all parties to do it, you know, in council we have our staff, and then the Lapine group, you can tell they're very professional. They move forward in a hurry. They're not fooling around up there. They're getting it done. And I think this is going to be it will be, not, I don't think it will be, a huge asset to the town of Renfrew. So again, thank you very much for saying a few words on my behalf.
And I did take your instructions literally and threw shovelfuls of dirt at the press. So I mentioned to him that was a Christmas present from the mayor. So.
That's all good. Okay, any other new business? We're unfinished business. Clerk Bomer.
Yeah, just wanted to mention that I've been in contact with a member of the Canadian Armed Forces, and they're planning a flyover on Remembrance Day of the Chinook helicopter. So they, just as an outreach, they wanted to contact the municipality to first make sure that there's no obvious issues in doing so. And their intention is to fly over at a very low altitude, approximately 250 feet above the highest structure. So it'll come over quite low. So if there's any concerns, please let me know ASAP, but those details will be going out. We'll support their outreach through our social media, etc. But it'll be between the hours of 10:30 and 11:30 a.m. on November 11th.
Okay. Councillor Sidney.
Just to Clerk Balmer, do we know if, are they going to highlight like kind of where they're going to fly over? Like, is it kind of following the main street kind of thing, or?
Yeah, well, that's the details that we're looking for. I imagine they're going to come down at least over the town hall area, the Cenotaph area, and probably time it along with whatever's happening. And I'm not even sure what's happening from a Legion's perspective, so we'll try to share that information as well. And any of those details that we can get, and that should be forthcoming in the next couple of days.
Thank you.
I have had some talk with a Legion member who was basically in charge of this, and suggestion was that possibly if we can coordinate it, that in cooperation with the flyover, that the 2 minutes of silence, so they can fly over at 11 o'clock, the people, we could advertise that people stand outside on their porch or their deck or their sidewalk or the road and do the 2 minute silence there, because there won't be a big gathering at the Cenotaph this year. So anyway, that's good news to see that they're coming down. I think that it'll add a little bit to a year that it's taken us back a wee bit. Anyway, any other new business? Okay, hearing none. Okay, the bylaw 76/2020 being the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council, corporation town rent for the meeting held October 27, 2020, be read a first time, deemed to have been read a second time. Over, please. Councillor Hines, second by Councillor Evans. All in favor? Carried. The bylaw 76/2020 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council, corporation, town of Renfrew, meeting held October 27, 2020, be read a third time and be passed. Over, please. Councillor Jamison, second by Councillor Sidney. All in favor? Carried. It is now 8:23. We are now adjourned. Thank you.